point, I could talk about the new Threadripper 3 I have under the desk.
Oh, Threadripper 3? No, I think it's 3rd gen Threadripper is the official titling, right?
Threadripper 3.
All right, it looks like we are connected to Twitch. It looks like we are connected to Facebook. And it looks like we are connected to YouTube. Why don't you address the non-existent audience?
Hey, everybody. Non-existently, we are here running a little late. My fault completely. We had our hamster died last night, so I am running late.
Aww.
And like all dads, I didn't say it in front of my daughter, of course, Marianne, because she's broken up about it. And hopefully she doesn't watch this till she's like 30.
Okay.
I immediately said, it's like, oh, man, we just bought that hamster food. It's like, that's such a dad thing to do, right? I mean, and I'm the one, I love that hamster, but it's still like, oh, you literally get the big bag of hamster food. You're like, what are you going to do with it? You can't eat it. And it costs probably $10.
We just bought our first hamster, our first ever pet, last weekend, actually.
Be
last
prepared.
Monday.
You better put that on your calendar,
Be
Brad.
prepared for death, Brad.
When you go to the store, you should say, like, how much time am I going to get out of this? How long do they live normally? Well, 1 to 2 years. So can I have a 2-year one? Because I want the 1 year one.
My kid knows what's up. She actually said that. Can we get another one when this one dies? Because they don't last very long, right?
No way. Wow. Nice.
Yeah. No, I mean, but, Marianne's reacting is the way I would expect an 11-year-old girl to react, properly.
Yeah.
Like an 11-year-old kid should be broken up. You'd be scared. It's like, okay, gotta go. Let's go. Like, all right,
Well, we got some people falling in here. We got Patrick and Syed over on Facebook. We got over on YouTube, Marius from Poland. Patrick's here. Heisenberg from Germany. Vignesh is here.
Wait, all this hamster stuff's not going to make it into the final cut, right?
Oh yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's staying in.
Yeah.
I'm just I usually trim it up.
See, that's why I figured. I said this part does not make it in.
And then Heisenberg has watched my camera shootout that I posted yesterday and is really sad that I broke the P20 Pro.
It's still on though. Of course, you broke that after the shootout.
I did, yeah. I mean, I dropped some equipment on it. The back shattered in a really bad way.
You specifically dropped a video camera on it.
Well, a photo camera. Funny enough.
Which one?
My new Fuji.
Oh, okay. So there's some like jealousy thing going on.
A little bit of jealousy.
Your Fuji mirrorless, which is like the hipster camera to have these days. By the way, folks.
Yeah.
Fell onto the best camera phone.
Yeah, I dropped it on the P20 Pro and the back shattered. So
it made you do it though. It's just like Lord of the Rings.
I know. I had no control. Also, we have Drew over on Twitch from the U.S. Good old USA Drew. Hi, Drew.
Hey, Drew.
And then we got people are coming in. So why don't you tell them what they should be excited for?
We're gonna be talking about why the PC is still better than the Mac. No kidding. Oh, and also no hyper-threading for Core i7 and Elena.
We haven't
started yet. So yeah. So Elena showed up.
Well, we've started, but we haven't started.
It's live. So
yeah.
It's funny, you looked over at the door when she walked in, and apparently this camera is right between it. You turned directly at the camera and said, whoa. So I'm like, oh, what? Do I have a booger?
That's so weird. No, it's good timing.
What did I miss?
Well, Gordon told us about his hamster that died, and then we were just saying hi to the audience.
It had the hamster lifespan.
It had the hamster blues.
So
it just happened to happen overnight.
It was like a full life, right? It wasn't that.
Yeah,
okay,
I had a good life.
Well,
I've
full
noticed it's
hamster
been a little
life.
slow lately. But I noted, so you missed the whole thing. Now, I say,
You don't have to
everybody's
retell
like,
it.
man, you just cold-blooded. Elena will appreciate this. I immediately said to my wife, of course, my daughter was asleep, Marianne, it's her hamster. I said, damn, we just got that hamster food, right? It's like, because we, like literally like this weekend we bought some hamster food. It's like,
can you return hamster food?
No, it's already open. Got like 2 servings out of it. So
You can always donate it to some other family who has a hamster.
I don't know.
It's like that famous short story, for sale, hamster food never used.
Oh.
Are you making that up?
No,
No,
the actual
it's
famous
actually-
short story is
yeah,
baby shoes instead of hamster food.
Yeah. So they basically had it was like tell a story and like like 25 words or less or something like that, and that was really famous because of the story
Man,
it basically told with that one sentence. Or
Why are we
Make the
starting on
shortest story
such?
you can, and that was the winner. I forget who it was. It was somebody famous.
Why are we
Yeah.
starting on such a down note? I'm so sad.
Because something actually happened. Something passed on last
Wait,
night.
but how is that even a famous story? For sale, hamster food
No.
not used.
He's riffing off the original story. So the original story is for sale, baby shoes never used,
Yeah, never worn.
never worn, or something like
that's it.
that.
Okay,
Yeah.
look, I understand. There's like the,
Yeah.
the
Really
whatever, but you know what that is? That is every single friggin' Craigslist eBay ad. Never used. You know what I got? GTX 1060, never used. It's in the box. Okay, I'll buy that. That's pretty good. That's a good deal, right? It's just a scam because it was used. They just it was never used. Because let me tell you something.
Man, you must be
about
stone
somebody.
cold when you go to estate
No,
sales.
I'm saying
Yeah, he
look,
is.
no, because the truth is, if you've ever, and I have 2 children, they're no longer babies, but those baby shoes, that's like, oh yeah, that's like buying your kid, I just bought you this 8086K. Well, you know what? A 2-month-old is not going to use the CPU. It will therefore not be used, right? Because it can't. Those shoes, they don't really get used. It's like, oh, where's the baby, the 5-month-old? Oh, it's on a marathon right now. It's like, no, it's just it never goes anywhere. It doesn't even walk yet. What are the shoes for? And then you take those shoes and you go to Craigslist, baby shoes never used. I'm just saying that is just like you got ripped off. Of course, they're never used. They never get used. They don't walk.
You're cold,
It's a baby.
You're
never. So the
cold.
lesson we've learned today in this interlude is never take Gordon to an estate sale.
Yeah.
No, I can't believe.
Don't
Especially
buy
if the family
anything
is
from
present.
him on Craigslist.
Yeah. And Drew on Twitch is saying, "Wow, depressing."
No, but look, you think I'm bad in an estate sale? How about Elena?
I'm very
Well, that's nice.
respectful.
This is what, $10,000? I'll give you $12.
Yeah, yeah. You'll be
respectful.
respectful, but you're gonna haggle the
I just
shit
checked
out
the
of them.
camel listing, and that's
You know,
like
I
no.
never do there, 'cause
Maybe
I-
$10,000 10 years ago. I'll give you $3
I'm
for it.
too American to haggle.
Oh yeah, well, I don't.
So
think so.
you'll haggle
I'm really-
online, but you won't haggle in person.
Well, there's no haggling online. You just go and find coupons and sales. That's it.
It's it's
We've wasted
e-haggle.
so much time already.
We've wasted way too much
Hey,
time.
Haggling to
I
an
showed
extent.
up. I didn't start this.
Gordon, yeah. Why don't you know what? Let's just kick it off.
Let's just kick this off.
Let's
All right.
kick those cool beats.
All right, here we
Gordon.
go. Just stand by. In this episode of The Full Nerd, PC still better than Mac. And Core i7, no hyper-threading for you. Welcome to The Full Nerd, episode 60. I'm your host, Gordon Maung, with co-host Brad Charkis.
Hello, Internet.
Eleni, of course, in her standard place, the left seat. Which I think is the pilot of it, isn't it?
Well,
Hi.
stage left.
No, the
Co-pilot.
left. I think the left seat. No, I think the right seat is the captain. I think it is the left. I don't know. Sorry, get into it. And other special guest, Chris Hebert.
How's it going?
Did I mess that up? Did
No,
I-
that's right, Hebert. Yep.
He's my video counterpart on IDG's enterprise sites.
East
Hello,
Coast.
Chris. Yeah, from the East Coast.
And of course, Adam Patrick
Best
Murray, who can cut us all off at any second. So be nice to him.
Gordon, you forgot to introduce yourself as Mac expert Gordon
am
Maung,
a Mac
Mac World expert Gordon Maung, who was on the Mac World podcast yesterday talking about how awesome Macs are. You should have heard him. It was so weird. Like he was just saying how awesome they were and how he loves them. And then now he's
Loves
going
the
to come.
keyboard. I thought I heard him saying.
Yeah, exactly. And now
And
he's
that
going to come
mouse.
here and be like, "Oh, Macs suck." So why are you double dipping, Gordon?
And I gotta say, look, and when you go into somebody's house, if
You don't
are
kill their hamster.
If you're on the, if you don't kill their hamster. If you are on the opposite political spectrum or whatever, you don't want to get into fights over that. You're in their house. You're respectful of them. And I gotta say, nothing I said, I would not say again. Which is, here's the question, and everybody's gonna agree with me. Which is, what is the fastest best core or fastest best MacBook laptop? Right? And I
Yeah.
can truthfully answer that. The brand new,
None of them.
MacBook Pro.
Oh, okay.
Because what you are doing is you are making a small sub. I understand I'm right-handed. You're left-handed. There's a reason why people aren't supposed to use their left hands. I don't want to get into
What?
that.
What?
But
Whoa.
Don't even get into that.
I'm not going to get into that. But there is a reason why society frowns on southpaws, right?
Oh,
Well,
man.
But I can't make you use your right hand. You want your MacBook. You want your MacBook Pro. Whatever. I'm going to give you the best advice.
You can still tell them how wrong they are.
No, you can't. I mean,
Yeah, you
yeah.
can.
I mean,
Wait.
yeah. I see. Look, I see the same thing. Now, this is like the whole console thing, right? Because they're like, oh, you're just a hater on consoles. I have no problems.
Yeah,
you
you
want to
are.
play console?
Yeah, you are.
You play console, that's fine. But don't get in my face and say console's better than PC. Because then
Gordon.
I'm going to bring it.
Gordon, no
Right?
one even says that to you. The minute
They
that
say
someone
that
says the word
all
console,
the
and you're just like,
time.
console
players. Yeah, even
No,
ever-
controller players. Like, there's some things like, look,
Oh, okay.
Oh, why you got to bring Brad into this for?
if you are
He's
using
like
a
Switzerland,
controller,
man.
if you're using a controller to play a shooter, you're just not right. But my job is to tell people what is the best Mac for them. If they want to know, if they want a Mac, I'm going to tell them. A lot of the reaction to, of course, this major screw up by Apple was a lot of it's misplaced. I think a lot of people overreacted. There was, of course, the normal, Apple fanboy defense mechanism, which was ridiculous, but you could ignore that. But there were some people that were just in full freak out mode, and I was working with Roman. We were doing some testing, and
Well-
it just didn't. It was not what everybody
So
assumed.
I walked in late. Did we already summarize for everybody what the issue
Well, we
was?
haven't even
Yeah, we
got
already
into
did.
that.
We see it. We said PC's still better than Mac. Now, if you ask me,
hold on.
what is the best
The cool thing
laptop?
about
I ain't
this
gonna
is
say
it gives
MacBook
us-
Pro. What?
It gives us an opportunity to look at and talk about like how the design of laptops can affect PC performance. We can compare this directly to Core i9 PCs.
Right.
That's the
Yeah.
idea today.
So just to summarize, in case we haven't done it already, the issue we're talking about was that, was it, I forgot his name, it's one of the YouTubers.
Dave Lee.
Dave Lee.
Dave 2D.
Discovered that, was it in Premiere? Or like extended
Premiere.
loads?
He had a Premiere
that
load that he uses.
the Core i9 part would start throttling. So it would it drop to like 1 point something? I forgot what it was.
Performance was basically worse than what you're getting out of. I just did the fade from mic thing. The worse than the previous generation Kaby
Yeah.
Lake Quad.
Yeah. So
Way below base speeds.
yeah, so Macworld ended up looking into this, writing some of their own tests, and just seeing, what the root issue was, what might be causing it. And so Apple just released a patch for this, I think.
It was a firmware
On Tuesday.
update.
Firmware update.
So they release. Everybody goes because this happens, very late last week. And the worst thing is it happened over a weekend, so people get to fester. So you have all the conspiracy theories. Everybody's looking for solutions. And I got to say, one person on Reddit I really think did find the actual problem. By
Good job, one guy on Reddit.
well, I mean, the one person who posted his fix, and he could prove it. By Monday, what day is today?
Today's Thursday. I think it came out
Tuesday was the
Tuesday.
patch.
It
when
came out Tuesday.
out.
By Tuesday, Apple said, "Hey, we figured out there was a bug in the firmware across all the new 8th gen Macs, and we're pushing it out. Everybody, stop hyperventilating, and so."
Well, real quick, your bosses from Macworld are in the YouTube chat right now. He's saying, "Wait, why are you on the Full Nerd?" And then I'm pretty sure it's Roman, your boss. He says, "Gordon joined the Mac Master Race."
Yeah. See. Yeah.
Those are incendiary words here.
No, but
Yeah,
look,
I'm not making this up.
That's an interesting segue, I think, about the Mac Master race bits, because even after the fix, when you're running long workloads, because this is a Core i9 chip designed for high clocks, in such a thin body, because the MacBook Pro, I think, is 0.6 inches. I mean, it's still only hitting baseline reliably now for these long workloads, the
Right.
2.93 gigahertz, right?
Yeah, 2.9
Whereas,
gigahertz pretty much.
by comparison, if you look at some of the Windows PCs that have Core i9 chips in them, like I've reviewed an Alienware 17, the new one. I think Gordon's looking at an Acer laptop.
Yeah.
And
just-
they can hold much higher clocks because they're thicker and have better cooling
Yeah,
solutions.
under base clock they hold 3.5, so 3.6, and that's not base clock. As we know, base clock is it's the minimum pieces of flair. It's like when everything has gone wrong, this is what you should be running at.
Do you always want to do the minimum, Gordon?
Yeah, and Brad is right. I mean, I agree. I mean, I brought this up. The example I had is like 17-inch, gaming laptop with, built for games. It's got big fat heat pipes. It's got great big fans that are probably actually thicker than the main body of the MacBook. It's going to outperform a Core i9. The weird thing to me is that they even put a Core i9, and this is not just on Apple. This is on everybody. They're putting Core i9s into 15-inch, XPS 15 class laptops, right?
That's weird.
And it's weird.
Is that why?
Well, so one thing I do not have an i9 XPS 15. I definitely think when the numbers I've seen out there from people that have run some preliminary tests, it is faster. It does not clock down as much as the Mac, but it still is going to clock down somewhat. I think Dave Lee, he already seen one. He's like, yeah, this thing is still thermal throttling, but it's sort of like one of those things. Like, yeah, it's in a 4 to 5 pound laptop body. It's not going to run at full speed. So why is there any advantage of opting for a Core i9 laptop in these thin bodies over the Core i7 version? Because Core i9 and Core i7 are different on the desktop, but inside of laptops, I mean, Core i9 just means faster. And if they can't go faster because of thermal constraints. No, I mean, there is a plus. I mean, it is because, again, a lot of the overreaction to the MacBook are people like, oh my God, this thing, you don't get anything. I'm getting ripped off. Yeah, kind of, sort of. But not really, because it does under turbo hit 4.6. I was watching Roman run a benchmark, and we were looking at the clocks, and it was running 4.6 on turbo sometimes.
So that's like a shorter run.
Very short runs, very light loads. So you do, and I mean, I don't know what people seem to forget these things. It's like Core i9 was not going to be an all-core 4.6. You're never going to get 4.6 gigahertz out of a Core i9 all-core unless you overclock it, right? But stock, that was only a single thread, light load, and then of course. They have this thing called thermal velocity boost, which is extra boost if the CPU is cool enough.
Extreme.
I'm sure under some circumstances, Core i9 and the MacBook Pro 15 will actually hit 4.8.
You mean like putting it in the freezer?
Putting it in the freezer like Dave Lee did. I mean, the one thing, because a lot of people said, oh, he's full of it. He pretty much proved that there was definitely a thermal issue by putting it in a freezer and running it and seeing, like 20% improvement in performance. So
it's pretty badass.
Well, I think it's interesting. I mean, I didn't test it with the long run, but over multiple Cinebench runs, and you saw it too, with this Alienware 17, which admittedly is twice as thick as a MacBook Pro. It sustains 4 gigahertz loads even.
Yeah. It really, it's a CPU built for big gaming laptops, and that's why I'm blown away that everybody's putting it into thinner laptops.
It does seem strange because honestly, you're going to be buying a MacBook Pro to do work, and you're probably going to be doing these longer load type tasks. So it kind of seems like we're arguing that the chip isn't necessarily bad for short, like light loads, but it doesn't. With the Hatch now, it seems like it's better, but it's still going to slightly nerf performance as you start going for those longer runs, as things get hotter. So it does kind of still beg that question Brad asked, which is it really worth getting something like this if you're, like, say, someone like Adam who wants to take, your editing production on the road?
I would say, and I said this on the Macworld podcast, I was like, no, I wouldn't. I don't think the value is there for Core i9 over Core i7, especially in laptop configuration, because it's it's the same CPU except you're getting more clocks, right? And on all turbo clocks, so higher potential. But really, my thought process is if you are buying a 15-inch workhorse computer to do encoding and rendering, you really want core and thread count, and you get that with the cheapest 8750, right? The Core i7 8750H. That's a great chip. Gives you 6 cores, 12 threads. Why would you? And you're paying this $300 premium
that much?
Yeah, it's a lot of money, right? And then I'm again. So an 8750H max turbo 4, right? There's a mid range, the 8870, I think, and that's like I think it's maybe you get about a 300 more boost. And then for Core i9, you get a 300 to 500 boost, depending on what you hit. But it ain't worth it for most people.
Gordon, we got a question on YouTube. Friend of the show, Jacob Flores. Hi, Jacob. He's saying that Asus ROG laptop has a Ryzen 1700 desktop part. He's wondering if that would be better for CPU compute than this throttled i9 in the MacBook Pro.
It all sort of it depends, right? So you're looking at an 8-core 16 threads, yeah, it's going to whoop all over a Core i9 in multi-threaded tasks easily all day, right? That's just, you get, for the most part, I have a really, really rough rule, which is about a gigahertz, two more cores, or hybrid threading, in fact, is probably worth about a gigahertz of overclocking in the Sandy Bridge days. So you're looking at 2 more cores with hybrid threading. It's going to beat, no matter what, more cores will beat high clock. But what you got to realize, the vast majority of code that people use, the software use, is not really going to be. I mean, I love what Intel and AMD are doing with these high thread count parts, but come on, let's face it, the vast majority of things you are doing are not going to use it. So you got to look at that balance. You don't just automatically assume, 8 core going to be better in Ryzen. It'll whoop all over that in multi-threaded tasks, but you're going to get to a lot of like gaming with that clock advantage that Intel has had, and you get to that advantage where Intel's had higher clocks at lower thread loads. Yeah, it's still gonna win there.
It depends on your workload.
Yeah. Well, and also I was also thinking when I was listening to the podcast, which I'm ragging on you, but it was a good episode of the Macworld podcast. Go check it out. My other video producer coworker, not Chris, but Dan, he's the producer on that one, and they have fun over there. But I was thinking, I was like, why? So Intel's better for gaming, right? But you're not going to lose anything by putting a Ryzen on a MacBook, because MacBooks aren't for gaming. So why not just go over to AMD?
Well, so my argument, look, I'm not saying one is necessarily just simply better. It's what's best for you. And you got to look at what you're doing, because there's a lot of applications that aren't just games, that are really lightly threaded. Like Photoshop is notoriously not exactly a well optimized app. Yeah,
True.
Yeah, you can hit the 3 filters that somebody optimized, and you'll get it. The rest of that time, you're pushing 1-2 threads if you're lucky. There's just a lot of programs that people use that will benefit more from high clock speeds. So look at what you're doing. But yeah, if you are doing Blender, you're doing rendering, all this kind of heavy duty encoding, 8 cores is going to be better.
That's what's interesting about this whole MacBook Pro saga to me, touching on these core speeds, is that it really drives home the fact that you could say, hey, this has a Core i9 part, it's going to kick ass. Hey, this has a Core i7, it's going to kick ass. But in the mobile world, in the laptop world, it depends so much on the actual whole integrated laptop design.
Yep.
You can't just say, hey, it's a Core i9, it's going to kick ass. It will to some degree, but the whole package matters so much more in laptops than it does on the desktop.
Well, actually, yeah, good point. Over on Twitch, Prozone Layer is mentioning that he would go for raw power over thin and light all day. What are you guys' takes? I know I would probably go over raw power.
I would too.
Yeah, same with Chris.
Yeah.
But we're heavy production people, so what about you guys?
To me, my thought, I actually tweeted this the other day. My thought is, if you're going to spend the extra money to get the extra performance of a Core i9, I think the extra performance would probably matter to you more than being thin and light.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think in general, just speaking from an overall perspective, not necessarily a specific person's workload, I would say that I think it should be a good balance, right? Get it as thin and light as possible, sure, but don't sacrifice the performance just to have a certain aesthetic. And that's to me is the weird part about the MacBook Pro, that they're valuing these aesthetics so deeply that it's actually hurting performance. Like, why would you do that?
I mean, it's even getting to the keyboard, right? It's a crappier keyboard for better aesthetics.
Right.
The MacBook Pro, I mean, obviously I work for PC World, so I have thoughts about
I don't know. Do you? Gordon jump ship. Are you next, Brad?
But to me, the MacBook Pro itself is so weird because it makes so many weird compromises for its form factor, like you're saying, because it has a Core i9 laptop, Core i9 processor, but it pairs it with like a low-end Radeon part and a crappy keyboard. Like everything the opposite of what you would want in a production machine. Yeah. And it just seems to make so many compromises for its thinness.
Yeah. But not on price, Brad. No compromise on price.
And like I've always said, the MacBook Pro hasn't been for pro users for a long time. I
agree.
I loved that 17-inch MacBook Pro from 2011 because that was a pro laptop.
I mean, they got rid of pretty much all their ports.
Yeah, they got rid of all their ports. They don't even make a matte screen anymore. And if there's one thing when we're editing in the field, you want a matte screen.
Well, on top of that, even the that touch bar.
Oh yeah,
They
the touch
market it.
bar's
You know,
dumb.
it's for professionals use. You know, you can map your Premiere Pro
Yeah.
and editing keys. It's like
Sure.
we're not going to use that because we already have the shortcut keys.
You want function keys.
Yeah, we already have the shortcut keys memorized. There's no
Yeah.
way we're going to use it. It's so gimmicky.
It's dumb.
Yeah.
It's dumb.
Yeah, and again, I that's the thing about the MacBook Pro 15 is just it has been. I agree with you. It's been a disappointing decision. A lot of actually, and this is not exactly new, right?
Yeah.
Apple designs. It's really sad. That rather than having engineers and designers kind of like meet, what can we do? It feels like designers have all the say. Now, anybody who's ever worked in the magazine world, it's the same thing. You would never let your designer have complete control over a magazine, or you would get something like Raygun, the magazine, which you should look up, and you can't read it, but you can look at it. So
Raygun the magazine.
yeah, look up Raygun, the magazine.
I'm gonna do that right now.
Raygun the magazine.
And of course, I remember having a discussion with a magazine designer back in the '90s, and he was like, "Oh, this is beautiful." I was like, "This looks
okay.
like it's insane." It's like, how do you get information from this? It's beautiful. It's like I can't give any. So people buy it for the words, not to look at it, I guess. But designers have a different view of the world, right? It would be it's very much this is the normal yin and yang of our entire world. You have artists and you have engineers. Mm-hmm. You don't want a world completely designed by engineers. Otherwise, it would look like Minecraft with the same 90
Google Analytics.
right?
Google Analytics.
And you also don't want a complete world designed by artists. Otherwise, everything would be the most uncomfortable thing in the world, right? I mean, it'd be like,
It would look pretty, though.
my bed has spikes in it. How do I sleep in this? But it's beautiful. It's like, it's got spikes in the bed. That's where I sleep. And then so it's always that argument, right? So I think the problem with Apple lately is like, let's let the artists run away with everything, and then you render this beautiful, and then we can have the engineers put whatever hardware they can get. And it's like, we can't put anything in this. Are you crazy? Right? Like, this thing is so thin. What do you want us to do? Right? What do you?
Yeah. I would
that
argue. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I would argue it's been Apple's MO for a while. I mean they've cared about
but not
aesthetics
this
for
much.
sure.
Not
but not
this
this much. Yeah.
I mean, the MacBook Pro 15, and again, like I think like the Mac Pro, the trash can, right? The classic cylinder. It is a beautiful piece of art, and if you've ever touched one and taken it apart, it is an amazing, amazing testament to desktop computing that you would never want to buy
or use.
own, or use,
or try to upgrade.
and that sort of says something about that whole world where it's like, this is terrible. This is just a terrible computer. It's just absolutely horrible, right? That's just a terrible computer.
Yeah.
Terrible.
No. Yeah.
I
horrible.
think that analogy actually is where I think kind of the state of Core i9 themselves are right now, because you have the Apple side of things, the artist side, where it's so thin, it's beautiful, but it's, throttling to hell, even when it's not throttling.
Right.
And then on the other side, on the PC so far, at least the ones that I'm aware of, they've all been, the Core i9 laptops are, 10-pound huge beasts that will really like open up and let her rip. And there's nothing really in the middle so far. So
Well,
I don't
There's
curious
that
to see if
the XPS 15 might be in the middle, so it'll be interesting to see at some point what the performance actually is like in that.
Yeah.
To
Although
see how they balance the two.
I still think like I don't really place the XPS 15 as a pure gaming laptop. I don't even think Dell does. I sort of think we're kind of there with the Aero 15, the Aero 15X.
Yeah.
The MSI, the GS65, which is an amazing machine.
those don't have Core i9s though, do they?
I will tell you, they don't have Core i9s, but I will tell you in everything except where you're getting boost out of a load, like single threaded, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, MacBook i9 might be a little bit faster, but it's every bit as fast when you're pushing all the cores. So to me, that's a fundamental weakness, because I'm buying this for video encoding and rendering. Why am I buying this i9 if the performance is basically the same as i7? Right? That's just
Right.
like, it's just that. So I think we're kind of getting there, and I do think there is one more thing to add, because that classic battle between engineer and artist, and then you insert the third leg of this, which is the business person.
Oh, the business
Right?
person. Yeah, Chris knows the enterprise type.
So you get like
Oh, boy.
all three of those kind of mixed in that fight. And, to be fair to some PC laptops, the business person has been calling the shots. A lot of things like, I don't care. I don't want the spike design. I don't care about this high performance. Can you give me the absolute cheapest thing ever? And so I can sell it to people. But it's like, if we do this, no one will ever buy it again. That's okay.
ThinkPads.
Let's face
right?
it. We lived through an era of the PC where it was just junk, right? Netbooks. Right, netbooks are the exact. That's
God,
like
netbooks.
I don't care. Like, build me the most beautiful, fastest netbook-based, Atom-based netbook you can. It's like, what? That's just a turd, right? That's just, and that's what we got. So it's always that sort of three tensions.
People bought them though.
But but look where we're at now. So like with PCs, I mean, I have this Mac sticker for people I troll with this, but this is an HP Spectre. I love this thing.
But
I
here's
really
the,
thought
but
that
here's
was a
the,
Mac.
It's beautiful.
But
yeah,
here's
I know.
the thing,
It's
though,
like,
Gordon.
Everyone thinks
Chris
that.
doesn't know this. You have a MacBook, so there's actually a secret mode on your Mac. So you tilt it back, and then when it stops, if you push on it really hard, it makes it a 360.
Yeah.
You got to hear the snap, right?
You have to hear it snap, and then the screen will go black.
I
No,
have-
I'm
I
kidding.
have no
Don't do
choice.
that. Do not do that.
I didn't have
Do
an
not do
option.
that.
This was given to me by force.
Yeah,
Okay?
I know. I'm
So-
just saying. No, I mean, but look, we're at a
No,
point
I know,
where
I know.
PCs we have this beautiful
But
blend
Gordon,
of engineering, artists.
Do you really
and
think we
business
would have
people on
gotten
PC
to this
platform.
point if we hadn't gone through the crappy
Look at those
netbook
back
phase
there.
first? Because before then, laptops just kind of kept going as they went,
Sure.
right? Like you couldn't find a laptop under 4 pounds. You couldn't.
Well, look, and that's the one thing. Like, everybody wants to bag on the business person, the one who makes calls all these things. Like, why did you make these things? And the business person is like, you know what's great to you, artist and engineer? Right now, you would be working at Starbucks if we didn't sell 20 million of these netbooks to pay the bills. Because what do you think is paying the bills? Your beautiful art, your stupid Core i10 that you can't even fit into a laptop? No, right? I mean, it's just sort of like, it's always that yin and yang, right? But it's yin yang, and I don't know what the last
So
one is.
I feel like we're saying
Yum.
that. So things are a little out of balance right now when it comes
On the
to certain
Mac, yeah,
products.
clearly. Well, I will say on the Mac, clearly. I don't know if this clearly is like whatever the artist says, whatever the art says, whatever they say, do it.
Aluminum.
Sir, we can't look. We have the roadmap from Intel and AMD, and this ain't. And also, why can't we use some NVIDIA parts in here, sir? It's like, oh no, I ain't got this thing against NVIDIA. And there's just sort of like it's all balanced.
we got some people who have asked about Apple making their own CPUs. I know you
Yeah.
covered that, but what do you think, Gordon? Is this a way they can get around some of these issues?
I said it, and my harsh assessment is it would be the end of the Mac platform. You try to drag people one more architecture change. Developers are going to be like, forget it. You know what? We'll just do iOS, whatever. Like, we're not going to waste our time on this thing. But I just don't. One, I don't think you can really get the horsepower. I mean, Jason Cross from Macworld had a good point. Well, we'd have to see these parts. Well, what I know is you don't get a 3-watt ARM processor to compete with a 45-watt Core i9. It just doesn't happen. It's just not going to happen. So you can't tell people every time, all right, everybody, I know you told you to use your right hand. Now you need to use your left hand. Now you need to go back to your right hand.
Or your right foot.
Yeah. Why don't you start actually, using your feet for everything? It's like I don't think it can survive another transition, frankly. And because Macs are in sort of this bizarre sort of walled prison, but they still have to compete with PCs. And the PC side, we are just producing beautiful laptops, beautiful devices that are just like leading the way. All the innovations on the PC. And you're going to try to like just make people stay on Mac because, we have our own chips? What exactly is this like? Yeah, but my rendering project is like, I use Premiere. And you know what? And people are like, do you think? I mean, like, Premiere is like better than it used to be. But do you think Adobe's going to we're going to make this awesome on your ARM chip? It's like,
Yeah, that's
So you
what I
can
was
throw us under the bus again, Apple?
But Gordon, you should be using Final Cut 10. What are you doing?
Yes, I mean, but the world doesn't work like that. That's like saying, you should be using a different. Why don't your plugs fit my UK plug, my UK charger plug? Well, because it's the US. Well, I'll just what are you going to say? No, you're not going to charge your phone? It doesn't get you anything.
Emulation has issues too, as you can see by the Windows 10s notebooks or whatever they're called, the Windows on ARM notebooks.
Yeah, and it's not pretty. There's definitely times where it's not pretty, and a lot of the code just kills it. Emulation's not going to get you there. and there was a good point yesterday. Roman said, hey, they made that PowerPC to x86. That was pretty seamless. Well, it wasn't really that seamless, but as I pointed out, they saw where the thermals were going on PowerPC. That was a failure, right? That was they knew, and my example is they saw the meteor coming for the planet. That's right. And that meteor is coming. You got a long time to go we have to have an out off of this planet. So they got off the planet before the meteor hit, luckily, because they saw it coming. But what if, I don't think you could really, are they going to develop this thing for the next 10 years and then throw the switch? I mean, how much longer can they push developers? I don't think it's going to happen. So no.
I don't think it's going to happen as soon as some people think it does.
Yeah, we'll see. Before we move on to the next topic, we forgot to mention about a giveaway that's going on.
Oh, yes.
Why don't you inform people of the giveaway happening on PC World right now?
In fact,
I'll put the link in the chat.
If you go to PCWorld.com, you can actually see Elena's hand modeling it. Now I got to say one thing, it's limited edition. They are only making a very select amount of Core i7 8086K, 50,000. But in order to make this even more special, it is actually signed by Gregory M. Bryant. Now, for folks who don't know who Gregory M. Bryant is,
who is he?
He's the person who calls all the shots on Intel on PCs, client computing, as Intel likes to call it. So be nice. If you want a soldered part, if you want so-and-so, it doesn't help to be mean. So, yeah, you better, we're all going to kiss his butt right now because we want these good things. So that's what you got to do. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, well, I put a link in the chat, and everyone else can go to PC World and search for the Intel 8086K giveaway.
Right.
And yeah, we'll be giving that the thing you have until next Thursday. Next Thursday
So you
is
have
when
1 week.
Yep,
One
you
week
have 1
it's
week
on there.
from today. So
And again,
And actually, last week we interviewed Steve from Gamers Nexus, who went deep on that chip. So if you want to learn what the chip is capable of, go back and look at last week's episode to learn about how that chip can definitely overclock to 5 gigahertz across all cores.
Yep.
nice, cool. All right, why don't we move on to some rumors?
Oh, yes.
The rumors are
Yeah.
interesting because
Yeah.
if these rumors are true, that chip might be more interesting than future Core i7s, I think.
you think so?
Yeah.
Interesting or
Tell
useful?
us why.
Well, who's up on all the rumors? I can. So the rumor is there's a Core i9 coming that's going to have 8 cores and
I got the
hyper-threading.
page open.
The bad news is the rumor. I think the last news I saw from Ars Technica is the Core i7 version of that 8-core chip will not have hyper-threading.
So it's only just for
Oh.
that i7 chip.
Yeah. So of course everybody's up in arms over this because they're used to Core i7 having hyper-threading. But my view on this is just simply market segmentation, and it honestly it never made any sense anyway.
What part didn't make any sense?
So just to be clear, the rumor is that there's 9900K, that's 8 cores, 16 threads. There is a 9700K, that's 8 cores, 8 threads. And there's an i5 variant as well, that's 6 cores, 6 threads, no hyper-threading on anything but the i9.
All right. So that rumor is not nearly as bad as I thought it was when I first heard the kind of like the rumblings where it just said like there's going to be no more hyper threading on i7. I was like, what?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because that was like, and that's the way a lot of people sold it when without the context. It was like, yeah, that's going to be a Core i9 feature. It won't be an i7, so you don't get it, right? It's like it's not as big a deal once you hear that, right?
Yeah, when it's limited to just I mean, it's still kind of
It's
it's its own pickle. Like it's a problem because it just confuses things even further about like what belongs to what particular sub brand they have within the Core family.
Yeah.
But in terms of it being a huge problem, as if they just were stripping that feature out entirely from the i7 sub brand, it's not that catastrophic.
I think it very much depends. All these entries were found in Sci Software's database, by the way. That's where the rumor comes from. It depends on whether the Core i7 that launches, the 9700K, is the same price as the 8700K. Because if we move to a future where Core i7 is just 8 cores, no threads, no hyper-threading, and it's still selling for $350, But now, if you want hyper threading in 8 cores, 16 threads, you pay $450 for a 9900K. Then that would basically mean that the 808 6K and the 8700K will have more threads than their successors, right?
Yeah, they will, and I think I think that it's probably somebody sitting down and going, look, we need to have a reason for people to buy these chips, and we also meet because you can't have an 8-core i7 with that's 300 megahertz less than i9 with the same thread count, and then have people want to buy the top end one. Mm-hmm. So I understand that, but yeah, I also understand why people are angry. I kind of wonder like how, and that's the other thing though. So it makes you wonder like, and the problem with rumors is who knows what their value is, if they're even true or not when it comes on the other side. But this, I gotta wonder like, so if you have i7 8 threads or i9 with 8 threads and hyperthreading, what's even losing the hyperthreading, is there some other reason? What else they can do to make the i9 even better? There's these rumors of a soldered version.
Yep, that just popped up yesterday. Yeah.
So again, it's been kicking around, but so it sounds like the highest performing part will be soldered. It will have the highest clocks. It will have all the cores and threads. So i9. Yeah. Then i7 sort of gets this demotion. Although see, and that's why it's going to depend on price for me. Because if it's the future Core i7 flagship is still $350 like they have been, then the one that's out there right now, the 8700K, has 6 cores, 12 threads, and the 9700K would just have 8 cores, 8 threads. It's like a step backwards for the same amount of money almost.
Okay, so you guys think that they won't keep a 6-core, 12-thread part in the i7 group?
I think the rumor seems to indicate, again, it's a rumor.
Right.
It seems to indicate kind of that the separation, the market segmentation going forward might be Core i5 is 6 cores, Core i7 is 8 cores, hyperthreading is Core i9.
That's so confusing, especially because they first introduced Core i9 for the extreme end of things.
Yeah, but
the X parts.
That's only in the big socket, right? So.
I know, but still, like my association with Core i9 before all this was with the big socket.
Yeah. So I mean, but at the same time, when they're like, okay, we're going to sell these things, generally the model numbers are an indicator of performance. So if it's a lower number, you get less performance in certain benchmarks. So I'm wondering if there will be a 6-core with hyperthreading in i7 still, like 8700K. Will that still exist? Because 6 cores with hyperthreading so 8 cores with hyperthreading won't be faster. But then it might actually be faster than the rumored i7 without hyperthreading, right?
Yeah, but then if they start mixing, some i5s are 6 cores, some Core i7s are 6 cores with hyperthreading, and others are just 8 straight cores, that gets real confusing very quickly.
Yeah, but Intel hasn't been straightforward for a while now.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm not that overly, freaked out about it. People are freaking out about it, of course, but I think. There is no rhyme or reason. i7 and i9 on laptop are the same thing, right? And like i7 to i5, you go from 6 cores to quad core. But before, it wasn't. But then you get down to KB Lake R, and Core i7 KB Lake R is not that different than a Core i5 KB Lake R. Same core and thread count, right? 448.
I was just thinking about the desktop. Once you start bringing laptops,
I know.
Bringing in mobile just really gets crazy.
I've gone through this enough where it all makes sense, and then everything gets juggled to like I don't understand the rationale for this. It doesn't mean anything. It's just simply we give it a model number to help consumers sort of figure out how to give us more money, and also to get them the highest performance chip, because the bigger number generally does really mean bigger performance, right? So.
I'm really interested to see. There's rumors that these chips, if they are soldered, could hit 5.5 gigahertz. I don't think that's going to wind up happening. Wait. Steve last week was talking about it. He doesn't think it's going to happen either.
5.5. Is that what you said?
But yeah, that's what the rumors say. But I don't like rumors for a reason.
Yeah. No, it's hard to believe though, right? But it is possible. These 8th gen parts are really hitting some high clocks, and the fact that this is 4 base and 5 on turbo.
And if you manually
overclock it, you can get all cores of 5. It's like it feels like 100% of these are getting to 5. That's could you squeeze more out of it if you improve the process some more, or you find some other things that are holding you back, or you improve the cooling? Yeah, I guess so, right? Would that change everything? Does this make it tough for AMD then?
It would. Well, if they do wind up switching to a thing where Core i7 can hit 5 gigahertz but doesn't have hyperthreading, then AMD still has, twice the threads in their 8-core parts. So it doesn't necessarily change anything. It just further drives home the advantages that each platform has. Because already Intel's good for the higher clock things. Ryzen is great for the multi-core things. It just further cements that, I think, crystallizes that.
Yeah.
What are the rumors? Have you heard about when these might be expected to launch? Is it this
Not at
year,
all.
next year?
I have not heard anything, but the fact that they're already in databases makes me think it's a end this year launch kind of thing. Although they have, the one thing they have committed to is that 28 core part, right? And as Steve said, could be Whiskey Lake, could be a, something newer, 28 cores, high clock generally.
That's gonna be the big socket, though.
Yeah, big socket. So I don't know. I couldn't see them launching both at the same time because you want the mileage out of it. So I would think maybe CES would make sense, right? There's not that much time left in this year. There's other CPU launches coming. So if they do 28 core X part and then CES for this part, maybe.
It's only July, Gordon. What do you mean there's not much time left this year?
Yeah,
We're only halfway through.
it's crazy.
Well, it's almost August.
What do you think?
To be fair.
I gotta say I was a little surprised by the pricing, right? Because the rumor is the price this thing will be in the 450 range. Of course, these could just be trial balloons by Intel to see what they
Wait,
think.
for the Core i9 part or
For the top
i7?
end, 8-core 16-thread part.
So you said 450?
I think so. I think I saw a 450 price thrown out there, which is like,
Yep.
ooh, that's.
Would you pay that?
Well, it depends on how it performs. Like, would you pay for an 8-core 16-thread chip that the base clock is 4.5 with a turbo of 5.5? It's like, it's gonna be. I gotta say, that's gonna be hard for anybody to beat. That's gonna be hard for Ryzen to beat.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be pretty tough because those clock speeds get them a lot.
But on the other side, 2700 you can get for $330 tops these days.
With
Yeah.
with the cooler,
Well,
decent cooler.
that's kind of what I mean. It's like, would you actually pay for that performance outside of the fact that you have it? You know what I mean? Like, would you buy it to actually put it to its full use? Like, I'm trying to think how many people
That's-
actually would.
And I think would very much depend on the benchmarks because I don't even want to try to predict how that would actually perform in the real world.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. But so I don't think so. If this part comes out, if the clocks are as high as they say it is, it'll easily push off 2700X. But so you got to figure AMD's got a 2800X coming. There's some crazy rumors of them doing a 16-core version of a small socket
That would be crazy.
Ryzen, and I don't necessarily put much into that. I mean, because 7 nanometers isn't already done, right? It's not like going to be popping out tomorrow, so I don't see that happening immediately. So maybe they have another higher clock 2800X to compete with this 9900K part. Maybe $400 for that. I mean, would AMD charge maybe $350? I don't know. I mean, where do they go? They're $230 or $330? $330 and then 2700X,
$330.
right?
Yep.
So $400 for a higher clock 2800X. And then Intel has a 450 for the 9900K.
Yeah, but the other difference that we're not quite accounting for is the fact that Ryzen goes on sale much more readily than Intel.
Yeah.
Or sorry. Yeah.
Well,
Core
and they
parts.
come, look at this box. There is no cooler in here. You don't want to run a stock cooler on there. That's like buying a really nice car and then getting steel rims. You don't do that.
The Ryzen stock coolers are pretty nice.
And
Yeah,
they
but-
got RGB.
Yeah, so that's like, hey, there's so many car analogies. That's like buying a car and then getting alloy rims. Like not as nice as your aftermarket rims and your big subwoofer, but hey,
But you can drive off the lot with it.
you can drive off the lot and not have people laugh at your steel rims. Like, what is this, a delivery truck? Right? No, steel rims. It
I
used
love
to
it.
be. Oh, go ahead, Brad.
I just love how much the computer world has been shaken up so quickly because just a couple years ago, our processor of the year was not applicable. It was that bad. But now
No,
we're
was
like,
it really 1 year?
Yeah.
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 years
Yeah.
ago.
That's
Well,
not that long
year and a
ago.
half. Year and a half.
Whether or not $450 is too much for an 8-core 16-thread Intel part. I mean, I love how fast we've how fast computing is accelerated with fast
Yeah.
computing.
And chat keeps reminding that next year AMD is going to go to 7 nanometer. You know,
Right.
so there might be a change in that. So, you know, things are continuing to improve.
Yeah.
These rumors, even if we don't like all the information, are a good sign of how all this competition is driving great stuff for fans of the PC.
Yeah, competition's good, right? And if only we can get that with GPUs. So
I think it shows it's really interesting how careful Intel has to be because all of its parts are so carefully segmented by market. Like just introducing an 8-core chip for the same price as Ryzen isn't something they can do without changing all the little other features of the things underneath it.
yeah.
Like finely tuned.
And then one point that AMD said at CES, which we'll see how that plays out, is like sort of in the old days, you know, if anybody lived through the original Athlon and, you know, FX51s, AMD would get faster or offer more, and Intel would pull away by, hey, we're the masters of process. We got this down. Nobody can touch our fabs, and they run away. And then they turn that switch, and they kind of walk away from AMD suddenly. They're saying, well, look, there's really not much Intel can do. But Intel does have that one more 10 nanometer part next, you know, we're looking at it a year or so from now, but I think they could squeeze more out of that, but then AMD has 7 nanometer, so it'll be, I like these races. That is just,
Yeah,
it
it's
just makes
We
everything
all
better,
benefit
right?
from it.
We all benefit. We benefit from HP and Dell and Lenovo and Asus and Acer, and they're all competing. They all have different prices, you know, we give you this feature, that feature. It would make the Mac better if they had competition.
And I mean, people kind of dump on Intel for being stuck on 14 nanometer for so long, but I think it's pretty amazing that they're still refining it so much that that chip right there can hit 5 gigahertz on all cores if you overclock it.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's something to be said for that.
Yeah. I mean, you can really squeeze everything you can out of a process, right? And it does make you wonder, you know, because I remember people in the old days were like, why do you keep going? Why do we keep stepping forward with these processes? Why not do a couple more? And they're like, you know, the main, again, this is the business person point of view, is they make more money. They have much data to prove that we step down the process and we make a ton of money. Because a lot of, I think, analysts are like, why do you keep investing to keep, you know, shrinking the die? What's the point? And like, we make a ton more money. We're getting more dies per wafer. So it's worth it. And in the end, it all washes out.
Yep.
Nice. So we're running out of time. So why don't we do a quick little Q&A segment, right? Just real quick, drop your questions in, and we will get these people to answer some questions. The first one's coming in from Doomslayer on YouTube.
Doomslayer.
Yeah,
I love it.
Sorry.
Doomslayer. What will Intel do next year when AMD goes to 7 nanometer?
I think I touched a little bit on that. I think they got one more. They got 10, right, coming?
Yep.
So we'll see, right? I wouldn't pass any judgment on anybody. It's late, but we'll see, right? You got to wait.
And who knows what Global Foundries 7 nanometer will actually achieve compared to Intel's long-established 14 nanometer that can hit 5 gigahertz now. I mean,
Yep.
we'll have to see.
Right. And one thing I do think is fair, although it could just simply be spin, Intel has long said, look, our 14 nanometer is as good as they're throwing shade at Samsung. Our 14 is as good as Samsung's 10, I think, or whatever. So
That's the thing about the nanometer counts. They're not actually counts. They're like marketing feature numbers that get tossed around these
We
days. They
talked
don't actually
about
measure
this.
it.
It got related to
Yeah.
childbirth.
Oh, no.
All right. Next question.
Next question over on
it's true.
No, next question over on Twitch. Hitman45 asks, do you guys and gals think this 9000 series part will work on the Z370?
I don't know. I got to say, because there's rumors of that Z4, is it 390 coming
390.
out, right?
It's not
there's-
rumors. Intel's actually
Yeah,
published.
so there's a
documentation.
390 chipset, but all it really does is bring the top end chipset. It seems like, you know, you get USB 3 110 gig. There's a lot of features that are on the cheaper chipsets that sort of get embedded into it. You know, I don't know. Again, I think we sort of touched on that. I say it's a coin toss. It might work and it might not work.
We hope it does,
wouldn't be
right?
I hope it
surprised.
does.
It seems to me like Z390 is, like you said, basically just adding some of the features from the lower end chipsets. So I hope it would work on Z370. But I mean, we'll have to see.
Yeah, but I wouldn't put any money on it one way or the other
No,
because
no.
you would expect it to, you would hope it would, but that doesn't mean anything.
Over on YouTube, Hazarki, do you think MXM PCs should get more attention than what it has now?
Yeah, the problem is it doesn't get much support from NVIDIA or AMD, as I understand it. But this, for people who don't know, these are little miniature, small machines with MXM graphics modules, which is an older sort of laptop standard that it isn't used that much anymore. But it's hard to get these vendors. These vendors have told me it's historically very hard to get MXM modules with newer graphics cards that work. There's a lot of thermal engineering kind of issues. And if you go and you look, if you have like, if you go and you look for like a 980 or a 780 in an MXM module, if you go to buy a used 780, GTX 780, right? It's what, $150? If you go out and you buy a used GTX 780 MXM module, it's like $1,000. It's $1,000. And people buy these because they have an older laptop. They've decided to, hack this thing into an older laptop because, MXM generally works if you have the cooling. That's $1,000. So MXM is just not really getting the support from NVIDIA and AMD. It would be nice. I think it'd be cool because it enables different form factors, but it's not happening so far.
Yeah, we got some more over here. Let's just hit it quick. Moxel on Twitch says, any rumors about GTX 1180 including tensor cores for AI? Brad.
That'd be cool. Who knows until they actually announce it. The Titan V and whatnot are chock full of tensor cores. So we'll have to see when it's announced what's in there. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see some in there, as you say, because AI going forward, that'd be cool to start including that in there. But we'll have to wait and see.
And then a question for Elena on Twitch. What is it? Primed Money? Oh no, Twitch Prime Money 2012 asks, has there been any updates on the RAM price fixing?
RAM price fixing?
Yeah, the prices are fixed really high.
Yeah.
That's the update.
Like update
Still?
in terms of like,
Yeah.
have I seen any movement
Yes.
in like deals? Not really. Not as much as I'd like. Lately, they've been going on this whole kick where they'll say like, oh, like 16 gigs for sale, on sale rather.
How much?
And it's like $10 off. Woohoo.
So 16
So
gigs.
it's still expensive.
16 gigs, 2,400. How much these days? I've not looked in a.
Probably 170,
Oh my God.
165. So I'm not really considering that a sale or a deal. It's still pretty inflated right now.
Yeah. Wow. Yikes.
And the price, they're actually, like, I believe it was China was suing a bunch of RAM manufacturers for price fixing as well, but
Oh,
there hasn't
really?
been any movement on that front either.
Yes.
So they said they're doing it. Nothing else since.
That's pretty tough. It's pretty tough. Those lawsuits really are tough.
It's hard to prove, I would imagine.
Really tough.
Yeah.
Unless you have like a text messages from the CEO to the other CEO. Okay, let's hold it at this price. It's like it's going to be really tough.
Yeah.
It's like gas companies, right? You can't prove there's price fixing, but all the prices are the same. It's really hard to prove. It's because it's really easy. They can just look across the street. Okay. That's like $3.59 for a gallon of gas in California right now if you're lucky.
Ooh.
No, it's like $4 by where I live, and I live in a not great neighborhood, so that tells you something right there.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
It is much cheaper out here.
Well, we
yeah.
have all
How
the
does it Brad?
We haven't hit $3 yet.
well, we have
so.
like all the emissions and like funding bridges and other
Yeah.
junk. Like
the
gets
bizarre
rolled.
California.
I can talk about that at length about that.
Yes, you can.
Let's do that next episode. Over on Facebook, this one is for you, Gordon, because I know you're such a big Mac fan.
Yeah. So,
Ernest White on Facebook is asking, is it worth putting an RX 580 in a 2012 Mac Pro?
which one's a Mac?
It's the ones we have over here.
Oh, like a classic Mac Tower.
Yeah.
It isn't. It is if you can actually get it to work, because some of those Mac Pros, I'm not. Up on
We're
Mac
using
Pros.
it to run on Skype. Brad is literally on Skype on the
but
Mac Pro.
You're using the GPU that came with it, and you need to do your research carefully.
Actually, I think we have
it actually works.
I think we have a Quadro in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a quadro.
Just to run Skype.
But the drivers, I think, is what he's about to get at.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's not
No,
drivers.
it's not.
It is because it's like, hey, industry standard PCIe graphics
Oh,
card.
power.
Oh,
Oh yeah, we're gonna do. Apple does these things again because the artists, or I don't know what in the world is going on, but they changed the. In the old days, they used to change the firmware on the card, right? The BIOSes and the GPUs would not work. I don't know if they ever stopped doing that because I remember I worked with a video person a long time ago, and I had like a 7800 GTX, which is like the one card that worked on his particular Mac Pro. I was
his
like, oh, you can have
particular
it.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like, oh, it fits in this slot. It's
I
not like
remember the 8800.
it's not like you go to the wall and you just plug in your anything AC related. It's like it has to have the special thing so it works with the Apple AC plug, which is insane. So no, I do think it's worth it for the performance, but you better make sure it works first. There may actually be some BIOS updates you have to do to the card. You know, people are probably flashing them to make them work, but it's not easy. And then also there are some power issues too. This is the weird thing. People don't know, like, and the last time I looked at a Mac Pro, it was insane. So you know how we run power directly from your graphics card to the power supply?
Oh,
They run from the graphics card, from a normal GPU power pin, to the motherboard, to what looks like a miniature version of the GPU power plug. Some of the designs,
What?
again, I can't say it's universal, but if you go and look, there were some Mac Pros where the power would go from the graphics card to a plug in the motherboard. I'm not kidding. I'm not
True.
making this up.
True.
So it sounds like
He's a
this
Mac-
guy should do some research.
You
And
can't.
Gordon's a Mac expert, so he
I'm
would
a
know.
Mac expert because these are the things that have made me absolutely the worst. I mean, I'm like, that's why I am the complete opposite of Apple, because I like standards. I mean, come on. What? It's so hard about making something where you could change parts out
but it's
of it.
not beautiful, Gordon.
Yeah, I mean, like what? I mean, what? So I really can't believe, and I guess you could say that somebody said, let's just take it and make it easy. We'll run the power cord right to the power supply, sir. It's like, I don't know. There might be a little too much wire showing. Okay, we'll route it. We'll make longer wires so we can route it behind the motherboard. That's not. Then there's wires in the back of the motherboard. Well, what did you want to do? Put power in the motherboard? Hey, would that work? No, I was joking. I was kidding. That's insane. Really? Could you come up with some designs? No, this. But if we do this, it'll delay this launch for 6 months, sir. Just do it. I want to see it so. It's like, right? I mean, just like, it makes no sense. That is just like so. It doesn't. What is the point of doing that? It's so non-practical. You know.
It makes just as much sense as having a Core i9 and a half-inch laptop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, you know, I gotta say that's the business person, because I gotta say, like, okay, engineering and art, we've come up with, like, we can do it. We can do the new Coffee Lake parts in the MacBook Pro. We can do it. It'll work just barely. Dude, I was just looking and look. Dell has XPS 15. They're going to put a Core i9 in it. Lenovo's got one. HP's like, you got to put a Core i9 in here. But it's like, if we put a Core i9 in here, you're not going to get the clocks. What's the point? They're doing it. We got to do
9
it.
is bigger than 7.
We got to
Right?
put it
9
on
is bigger
all
than
the
7.
marketing.
Right? Because that's definitely a business person call, right? Because the engineer's going to go, well, it's not worth it, right? It's not worth it. And then I guess if you want to ask a fourth leg, accounting would be like, I guess that's good for accounting. But the cheap people would say this is not worth it.
You're just making it super complicated with all these additional legs.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. You got artists, you got engineer, you got the business person. And it's just that tension of all three, just always fighting.
All right. Last question from Wings Cancer on YouTube. Don't know about that name. What is the best motherboard brand for long-term BIOS support? What do you guys think?
Boy, that is really tough.
Yeah, right?
I think it really sometimes just depends on the actual motherboard.
I would say if you want long-term BIOS support, you actually have to buy, and of course you're not going to do this.
Nice motherboard.
You have to buy an enterprise, something that they sell into businesses.
Yeah, so it really depends on like what specific model of motherboard you buy.
Yeah. So I would say I've seen plenty of motherboards. Like right now, it's clear to me that all the motherboard makers could bake in all the fixes for all the security issues with older chips, older motherboards, but they don't want to because they don't want to pay to have somebody do it. And two, hey, buy a new one to fix it. But
In general, a good practice is to spend as much as you can if you're worried about long-term support, because if you buy the high-end ones, they tend to get supported for longer.
that's true. But in general, but even if you have a very high-end Haswell motherboard, you've been put on that life raft and cast aside off the ship.
Except for me, because I was not on a high.
And again,
So I think that proves your theory that you thought that someone somewhere bought a lot of my particular motherboard and they had the clout to basically say like, no, like patch this.
right, and the only people that could force Intel, because Elena has the one unicorn Intel motherboard that got. You have a
do.
Sandy Bridge part.
I do. It's for my 2500K.
So she has a 2500K. She got all the security updates for her board. No other Intel board that I saw actually got it. It's that one board. And of course, from MSI, Asus, ASRock, everybody else is like, Sandy Bridge, you cheap bastard, go buy something new. We're not going to come back and fix that. Go buy something new. The only people that could make Intel do that, because they don't even have a motherboard division. The engineer has been either purged or moved on to another part of the company 4 years ago, is the U.S. government. So you have the same motherboard the NSA uses. That's what I think.
Nice. All right, why don't we wrap it up? We're running out of time.
All right. So check back next week for your fix of PC talk on the Full Nerd. Maybe next week, week after.
Yes.
I don't know. Okay, next week. For audio listeners, subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher. Send questions and comments to the Full Nerd at PCWorld.com. Also, leave us a review on iTunes every time you do.
A motherboard gets updated.
A motherboard get bios up. I wish I would be in there like leaving all kinds of fake reviews for my Kevin Durant made up burner accounts, right? So thanks for coming. I'm Gordon Ung with Brad Charkis.
Next week, if we do it around the same time Thursday, I'm testing G-Sync HDR monitor right now, so hopefully we'll be able to talk about that next week.
You could have it behind you. We could see your 4K.
That's the box it came in.
That's
It's-
insane.
Man, that
I can
thing's
sit in it.
gigantic.
We could see you
It's a
demo
normal
4K
27-inch
HDR.
motherboard too. It's just a standard sized monitor, but it came in a box like that.
Awesome.
Oh, and of course, Elena Yee.
Don't forget to sign up for the giveaway if you qualify.
Giveaway.
I don't qualify.
Nope. Unfortunately.
Other special guest, Chris Hebert.
Hey, thanks for joining us, Chris.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Long-time fan, huh? First time on the show.
And Adam Patrick Murray's going to hit the off switch.
Go sign up to win the giveaway.